Is a change in scenery a good thing or a bad thing? Guess that depends on your scenery. But if life isn't going the way you want it to go, how does changing your scenery play a part in maybe changing the course of what you've got going on? Is it a good idea or a bad idea? We're going to explore all these thoughts and all different aspects of how you might change your scenery in different aspects of your life. My alter ego is going to cut in a lot too with this old fortune cookie joke some of you might remember from your childhood back when fortune cookies were actually entertaining. In bed. Enjoy the episode, enjoy the thoughts, cue the music. Good afternoon, Earthlings. Matthew East. We are off topic once again, and this is amusing. It's not amusing, it's a musing.
Maybe don't start the podcast by telling your listeners that what they're about to hear is not amusing. I don't know.
Something I've been thinking about just a little bit today, because it's possible that it could become a part of my life really, really soon. And wondering about your thoughts on this idea as well. 864-432-3379 is the number to call. And if you're interested in this idea or you have thoughts on this idea, I would encourage you to call or fire me an email at eastofftopic@gmail.com and let me know what you think. The topic is this: change of scenery.
Also, let's play the fortune cookie game. You know where you add in bed to the end of your fortune to make it funny? We're going to add in bed a lot, and it's going to be funny sometimes. So pay attention.
Change of scenery is this positive idea that if you're stagnating, if you're, I don't know if depressed, but like if you're stuck in a mindset, or if you're stuck in an attitude of dissatisfaction
in bed,
or if you're out of ideas
in bed,
in a brainstorm, any number of scenarios that taking yourself out of the place that you are, particularly if it's the place that you're used to being, the place that you have been,
in bed,
putting yourself in a new setting,
in bed.
Is that effective, or is it kind of just wishful thinking? There's a kind of semi-famous saying. I'm going to look up who said it, and I think it was Yogi Berra, who said, "Wherever you go, there you are." But then it turns into kind of one of those almost a negative. It's kind of funny if you just think about it in its own terms. But if you think about it in a mode of like maybe desperation, or a mode of wanting to change something outside of yourself, when maybe what you should be thinking about changing is something inside of yourself, it starts to almost become like a little bit of an insult. Like if you're a depressed person, you leave where you live or something and you go somewhere else, and you're hoping that new environment is going to take you out of your depression. Well, maybe the depression is deeper than your outside stuff. Maybe it's inside that you're supposed to be looking, and maybe that's a little scarier. So the change of scenery might be kind of a cop out, or a taking the blame for the circumstance and putting it away from what's inside out into what's outside. But on the other side of that coin is the idea that a change of scenery
in bed
might change, like external stimulus could change or impact what's going on
in bed
on the inside. If you're stuck in a thought pattern, or if you've hit a brick wall in a
bed.
let's say you're writing a book, and you've been writing the book from the same laptop, sitting at the same desk or in the same chair, and your ideas are in your head, but you're having trouble getting them onto paper. So you take the laptop to a park or a waterfront or something, and you sit on a bench. Now you've got this scenic change, and you find your mind stimulated in a different way, and that impacts the brick wall, maybe softens the brick wall that you've been running into
In bed.
sitting in your office or your living room while you're writing. Or I mean, that's just a hypothetical, but or you're in a job that you don't care for.
In bed.
You're making enough money
In bed.
but you're not happy.
In bed.
You dread going, and you feel like changing the job might, for the sake of happiness, you might
Seek new employment with W-2 income.
change that environment. And that could be real because maybe you've got a shitty boss, or maybe maybe your coworkers are biased against you for some reason. Maybe something has evolved over time that is or is not fair to you, but regardless, it's just sort of necessary to move. My dad was a pastor, and there was a time in the church when the church was contemplating a major move organizationally that he was opposed to. And half the church agreed with him that it was a bad idea, and the other half disagreed and said, no, this is exactly the way to go. It's the only way to go. It's what we have to do.
If you're waiting for the fortune cookie joke during this segment, keep waiting.
It doesn't matter who was right or wrong. In that situation, the problem is that there was a single church, and it was a pretty small town, so it's kind of a bigger deal than if it was like in a big city and everybody could just disperse and go on their merry ways or do whatever they wanted to do if they didn't want to be a part of whatever ultimately ended up happening. But in this situation, both groups were going to remain in this small town, and it was going to be a problem. And I remember, too young to understand the details, but understanding enough that my dad was and mom together were looking at the possibility of just moving, not because there was a good place to go or a great next thing to do, but because it was just not right for them to stay. They were this divisive. He was, through his principles, had become, not intentionally, but a divisive figure in this little town. And so a change of scenery was essential for their good, for our family's good, but for the good of the scenery itself. There's all these different scenarios about a change of scenery. And so I'm interested what you guys are thinking. I'm going to promote interaction a lot in this episode. 864-432-3379. eastofftopic@gmail.com. I got a couple email addresses in my head. I don't want to say Matthew East Laughs at Gmail because even though I'll get it, we want to send you to the right places. But what is it about a change of scenery that's appealing?
In bed.
What about it is scary?
In bed.
Maybe there's a thought that the scariness level might be directly related to the positive potential.
In bed.
Because if the desire comes from the wrong place, then there's a draw to do it no matter what. And it's enthusiasm of just looking outside yourself versus inside and giving anything a shot, but going on the inside where it might be scary to face whatever it is that might be miswired or misthought or misfelt in your situation. I don't know. If it's a scary proposition, it means maybe that you're comfortable where you are, that there's nothing terribly wrong,
In bed.
but that the idea that something might still, there's always the opportunity for better.
In bed.
But are you willing to take the leap, the risk
In bed.
to go find the better when where you are is relatively comfortable? Maybe when it feels uncomfortable is the best.
So keep an open mind, ladies. That's all we ask. At least at first.
Think of examples in your life. Think of anything that you have gone through where a change of scenery, either positively or negatively or neutrally, did or didn't impact what you were trying to change. Did it work? I'm interested in scenarios, and I want to share follower and watcher scenarios, maybe in a second episode, if I can get participation on this one from you guys, because I'm only one person. I only have one set of experiences. Go ahead and get into a little bit about why this is on my mind right now. I am considering making a physical move out of where I am, this place that I have created for myself, not just this studio, but the house that it is in, the location that it's in, and the life that I have here, for the sake of a fresh start. And I have no negative memories of this place where I am now. I am not a local here. I'm a transplant. As any of you who've been following me from near the beginning are aware, I've only lived here a couple of years. I was close to my work, and while I am still working on going back to work, I can do that from anywhere. I don't have to live where I live. It's easy to live where I live, to do what I do as an airline pilot, but if I move, it doesn't necessarily mean that if I win my appeals, I can't do the job. I just become a commuter again, or I change my base to whatever city I move in. So I am looking at kind of a new start that covers both bases, because I don't necessarily need or desire to stay here if I were to move into a different career. But I'm comfortable here, and it's the comfort is the dangerous thing, because there's so much better available. And to say that I'm comfortable is even an overstatement. It's just that I'm stable. Stable's a better word. I am stable where I am, and that can lead to a false sense of comfort, a false sense of positivity that really isn't positive at all. It's just safe. And safe is boring. It's lame. It's like who wants to get to the end of their lives and be like, well, at least I played it safe. Fuck that, man. Like, playing it safe is for pussies.
In bed.
Pardon my vulgarity. Oh, fuck, I don't care if you pardon my vulgarity or not. It's part of what this is. But there is a sense of, what do you want to be able to say about yourself at the end of your life? That you played it safe, or that you took the risks
In bed.
that were required, or that felt right to achieve the ultimate things you could achieve
In bed.
in your life. I did an episode that I'm really proud of not too long ago. It said, "Safety is killing you." And it's a fun episode. I encourage you to go back and watch it. I'll throw a link up here if you want to go take a look. But it's both a combination of entertaining and super thoughtful at the same time. Plenty of humor. You'll enjoy it. But the idea is that safety is overemphasized in society, which is causing us to over restrict our activities. And that can be true of yourself too on the inside. If you play your life safe, what are you gonna miss?
In bed.
So, like, changing your scenery,
In bed.
changing in a situation like that, I think is nothing but positive.
Well, maybe we ought to cut this game short.
If you're miserable, you gotta understand why you're miserable. Like, here's an example. I lived in Seattle, Washington in high school. Seattle has the highest suicide rate statistically in the country, or at least it did back then. Probably still does. Probably worse, actually, now that I think about it. During the winter months, during the rainy season. For those of you who don't know Seattle, it's beautiful in the summertime. It's one of the best places to be in the world in the summer. Temperature's great, sunny, and gorgeous. But from like October to March, you might not, it's just rain. It's just fucking fog and drizzle and dark days. And if you are impacted by your surroundings, Seattle might not be a great place for you to live in the winter half of the season cycle. I loved it. I used to go running in the rain. I loved sitting on the rocky beaches of Washington, Puget Sound. I wasn't on the coast, of course, in Seattle, if you know your geography, which you probably don't, because nobody does anymore. Well, now I'm transposing my kids' knowledge onto you. They're not teaching the same stuff in school. That's a different subject. I'm gonna do a tease, because I do think that the idea of what school is teaching now is interesting to think about. I remember school teaching you how to think. And what I mean by that is you get a diverse, a breadth of knowledge. You had to learn social studies and English and math and science and all the different versions of those, all the different eras. And you had the classes like shop where you did woodworking and stuff, and home ec where you learned how to function living a life in a house, cooking, sewing, craft, whatever. Art classes were music. All of these things were almost ubiquitous across the spectrum of everything that everybody had to participate in. Very few electives. Music, of course, was one, but like you learned all of these things. You stretched your brain in every direction, the stuff you liked and the stuff you didn't like, and then that encouraged a open-mindedness, allowing you to learn to think critically for yourself about just about anything. Now I have an idea or an impression that we're trying to teach young people what to think instead of how to think. So that's a subject we'll go into on a later basis, but we're not going to go off topic, as I've teased myself for doing occasionally on this show. But staying off topic with this idea of a change of scenery, when is it, let's talk about when it's bad. I've talked about a couple situations when it might be good. If you are, if you find yourself blaming the world around you a lot for your problems versus taking responsibility for solving them, whether or not they're your fault, let's get that out there. Your problems could be the fault of unfairness. And I am close to being able to talk about some of that in my own life, which I'm very excited about. I've teased stuff like this before, but for now, even if the source of your dissatisfaction, your anxiety, your stress, whatever, your depression is external, are you blaming versus striving to become victorious? If you are, I would say that change of scenery would be a negative path unless you're going to give yourself like one shot. And you're going to say, look, this is all here. I'm going to use it as a mental tool, but when I get there, I'm going to change who I am. Even that seems like, okay, really great idea, but is it real? Can it even be done? Is it worth the effort? Or should you work internally first and then with a clear mind make a decision about the change of scenery? I think if you find yourself blaming outside sources for your problems, a change of scenery, it might be a pretty universal truth, or at least a statistically pertinent, applicable truth, that the change of scenery isn't really going to solve your problems.
Because wherever you go, there they'll be. That's called Yogi Berra in the future tense.
If you're looking in the mirror and what you see is something positive and someone who is capable of smiling in the face of adversity, laughing in the face of danger, superhero shit, whatever you want to call it, then it might work. I have an opportunity to explore a job very similar to the one that I'm doing now, or that I have been doing, 2/3 of the way across the country. And the idea of the scenery change has less to do with the environment and more to do with the job security. But the environment's pretty fucking attractive at the same time. Bonus, win-win. It's not, it's both. There's another location that'll become probably a pretty integral part of this podcast if it does flush itself out, that I'm excited about just for the sake of itself. And that's a little different because I would be looking for a job that might not be ideal, or it might be, it'd be great if it was, but if I could find the job, I might go just for the location, which is literally the definition of just change of scenery. That's what, believe it or not, my parents did when we had the problems with the divided church in Minnesota, where I lived at the time. They just moved to Seattle because they'd lived there for 1 year when I was real young, loved it. And because it was time to move, they just said, well, we got to move. We might as well move somewhere we think we want to be, that we think we'd love. And bam, off we went. And to Seattle we arrived, and into a rental house we moved. And then my dad started looking for a job. And while I was a freshman in high school at the time, and my parents did a real good job of sort of shielding the financial and the adult responsibilities of what they had chosen to do from us, I was still aware that, like, my dad did some odd jobs for a while, trying to figure out what was going to be permanent, and it was a stretch. I don't think they ever regretted it, and ultimately it turned into a wonderful thing for me. I got a ton more opportunities in Seattle, a big city and really cool place to be, than I would have in the small town in Minnesota where I lived as a youngster. And that allowed a great deal of my future to evolve the way that it did, getting into the Air Force Academy, becoming a pilot, which had been my dream since I was 10 years old, in Minnesota with nothing around me that would give me any optimism toward my chances. So, like, maybe it was sacrifice in addition to location. Maybe the opportunities that we would have, me and my sister and brother would have out there. But in the end, it was change for an external reason, and an unknown future. Once again, examples from your life. If any of this has sparked any memory or any thought, give me a call. Leave me a voicemail, and we'll take it into the sequel to this episode. The phone number is 864-432-3379. If you'd rather fire an email, eastofftopic@gmail.com is how to do that. I'd very much like to hear your perspectives on this. With that said, we're going to take a quick break from this subject and do a little segment that I've only done one other time. It was a few episodes ago. I keep forgetting to do it. I got a ton of these, but the segment is called Signs Someone Paid For. Without further ado, here is a sign that someone paid for. This has been Signs Someone Paid For, brought to you by Matthew East Industries Department of Redundancy Department. And we're back. You see what I did there? Change of scenery. It's interesting. I was taking a quick break for the segue, or for the segment there, and the segment. And I thought to myself, this is a metaphor. Get out there on the sidewalk and throw a couple of minutes in, see what happens. And I already have a new idea. What if scenery isn't always location? What if your change of scenery is like the person that you're with?
Maybe I was being prophetic before with the fortune cookie shit and the scenery and the bed.
What if you're dating and you're the one who's tried a new change of scenery once every few months? Something's wrong with these people. Any chance at all there's something wrong with you? It's going that way. A little bit like the moving for the wrong reasons kind of a thing. Looking outside instead of looking inside. There's a lot of ways this can apply, I think, to how we live our lives and how we make our decisions. Unique. Last plug here before the very end, where you'll get another one.
Well, it's not really the last plug then, is it, jackass?
But 864-432-3379, eastofftopic@gmail.com. Now, the other thing about a change of scenery is that there's some unexpected things. I'm not sure if you can hear all that, but I'm out here where there's traffic. It's a little bit different recording environment. And also, I've changed my scenery from the safety of my studio to a little bit more dynamic environment. Across some streets, cars going by. A lot going on out here. Something unexpected could happen. You could change scenery with all the best intentions and even for the exact very right reasons. Ooh, that changed the lighting. Look at that. Unintentional consequences of scenery change. We're managing though, aren't we? Point is that if you're changing scenery for the sake of changing scenery, or because, you don't want to look on the inside, you got to understand that you're definitely under all circumstances going to run into some shit in your new environment that you didn't expect. So if you did it for the right reasons, you might see those as hurdles. You might jump over them, or you might expend a little extra energy knowing that it's going to be worth it. But if you went for the wrong reasons, those hurdles might just seem like more of the world just beating you down, and you might get depressed, and you might be less stable than before, and you might make your situation worse because you don't have the right attitude. I don't know. It seems to me, oh, look at that sun. Yeah, there we go. Hi. Seems to me that the internal external thing, the thought of what is the source of the problem, and are you willing to look at that really, really honestly, probably the most indicating or the most impactful thing you can do in considering whether a change of scenery is right for you. This has been really fun, and I don't think I have a lot of time left in this episode to go any deeper, but I don't think we have to. I think this has been great, and I do want really to encourage. I know I don't have a massive followership right now, but if you are watching these videos, if you're watching these episodes, I really want to encourage you to participate. This is one of those where I think everybody's got a story. Relationally, locationally, vocationally. Holy shit, I'm coming up with some good stuff.
Fucking A, he's a poet and he doesn't even know it. You're good at told by his feet, though. They're Longfellows.
You got a story? Give me a call. Shoot me an email. Let me know what it is that you experienced in your life, or what you think a change in scenery did or didn't do for you.
In bed?
I'd love to talk about those and get you involved.
In bed?
Even as a guest.
In bed. That's all for me. Thank you. Good night.
On the podcast, but if not, just the story itself. Thanks for listening. I'm Matthew East. We've been off topic. We'll see you next time. All right, Earthlings, thanks for being here. Thanks for sticking with me. And if you made it this far, why not take it a step further and give me a quick subscribe? I'm going to show you energy, diversity. We're going to make you smile and laugh and think in this rebirth of Off Topic. We're finding our groove here in 2026, and we're going to get you 3 episodes a month on the 7th. So look for us on the 7th, 17th, and 27th. Also, check out the email address and phone number on your screen if you'd like to participate. Take a screenshot, write it down, replay it, whatever you got to do. But reach out. I'd love to hear from you. This is Matthew East signing off, and we'll see you next time.